everybody, welcome to FoundFlix. 2017 was a huge year for horror with giant hits like Get Out and It, and it looks like 2018 shows no signs of slowing down. So let's look at the biggest and most anticipated horror movies of 2018 with a wide variety of releases including original films, sequels, remakes, and some festival favorites too. Obviously, the biggest horror movie of 2018 is the long-awaited next entry in the Halloween franchise. Normally another sequel in the series wouldn't give us much confidence, but this time should prove to be much more interesting. We have the team of David Gordon Green and Danny McBride co-writing and directing, and despite their mostly comedy backgrounds, they have promised they intend to return to the dread and horror synonymous with the first film. And the story is said to pick up immediately after the first Halloween, rewriting the series' history completely. Jamie Lee Curtis will also be returning in her iconic role as Laurie Strode, this time also joined by her daughter played by Judy Greer. And their pitch was enough to get John Carpenter interested and on board as executive producer and scoring the soundtrack. Having him back to bring his talents to the new film will help bridge this one with the original in an important way. Right out of the gate in the new year, we have the fourth chapter in the Insidious series, The Last Key. The series has been consistent in quality so far, and intelligently realized the strongest part of the franchise is Lin Shaye's psychic character Elise. And once again, The Last Key will focus on her story. Accompanied by her two investigative partners, Elise travels to her childhood home to confront and destroy her greatest fear, the demon that she accidentally set free years earlier. There's quite a lot to the paranormal universe as presented in the Insidious series, and The Last Key will take us deeper into the further, and will also feature the return of some infamous demons seen in other entries. The home invasion thriller The Strangers was a big hit with audiences back in 2008, and I'm a bit surprised that it's taken 10 years for a sequel, but the wait is over this March when The Strangers Prey at Night is released. This isn't really a sequel to the original, with a new cast stalked by masked psychopaths who will push a family to their limits. The trailer looked pretty good, and I'm even more hopeful as it's the same director as 47 Meters Down, which was surprisingly well executed in its tension and action. The Slender Man creepypasta seems perfectly suited for the feature film treatment. There's not much known about how they will treat the character or what tone the film will be going for, but it appears based on the cast, they are going for a teenage horror film kind of approach, as we have teen horror veterans Joey King from The Conjuring and Wish Upon, as well as Annalise Basso from Oculus and Ouija 2 amongst the cast. Both actresses have proven themselves quite talented in the genre. The question is, will the movie itself actually be any good? We'll get a better idea as the film gets closer to its release on May 18th. The ever-expanding The Conjuring universe gets its next solo spin-off with The Nun, the demon called Valak that was featured as the main villain in The Conjuring 2. I thought the character was pretty creepy, and so far the franchise hasn't really produced a bad entry. Well, except for the first Annabelle. And I'm also more interested in this due to Corin Hardy directing, who was behind The Hollows, which I really enjoyed. In this one, we also have Thaisa Farmiga, Vera's younger sister, who of course plays Lorraine Warren in the Conjuring films. This will be a prequel to those though, further expanding on the backstory of the nun. At the Carta Monastery in Romania, several people investigate the mysterious death of a nun. Mysterious death, eh? Well, sure sounds like Valak to me. The Predator is one of the most badass villains of all time, and unfortunately the franchise has been out of the limelight for many years. That's about to change though with 2018's The Predator, written and directed by Shane Black of Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, Lethal Weapon, and Iron Man 3 fame, who was also amongst the cast in the original Predator as well. The plot sounds fairly similar to the original too, with a military rescue team sent to the jungles of Latin America in search of aliens captured by the natives. Then everything goes off the rail when the Predator shows up, picking them off one by one. Even if the story isn't groundbreaking, Black is sure to shake up the feeling and expectations we have for a Predator film. And the Predator is said to have a wicked sense of humor as well as a good camaraderie amongst the core team. If they're able to make these new characters half as memorable as the original, even that would be an impressive feat. And no matter what, I'm excited to see the Predator back. A superhero movie, what's that doing on here? Well, this is a horror superhero movie. If there was any question of its horror style, the trailer made it abundantly clear that's what the filmmakers are going for, citing Stephen King and Nightmare on Elm Street 3 amongst their inspirations. And the setting for the story does feel quite similar to the hospital that was the setting for Dream Warriors. The young cast of mutants is impressive, led by the Witch and Split's Anna Taylor-Joy, Game of Thrones' Maisie Williams and Stranger Things' Charlie Heaton. For many reasons, I'm looking forward to New Mutants, but especially to seeing it tackling the superhero genre in such a different direction stylistically. A Quiet Place has a pretty compelling hook. The idea is a family led by Emily Blunt and John Krasinski is forced to live in silence, out of fear of an unknown threat that follows and attacks at any sound. The trailer looks brooding and intense, yet also very startlingly quiet until near the end. The overall feel does seem a bit similar to It Comes at Night, but it appears this time there is actually something out there hunting them. The only straight up science fiction movie on this list, Annihilation looks like an interesting complex story, and one that might leave us with way more questions than answers. Alex Garland's follow-up to Ex Machina stars a group of female scientists led by Natalie Portman, who head into a strange environmental disaster zone where the laws of nature don't apply, to learn what they can about the void in an attempt to save her husband. The trailer does well at setting up the mysterious tone with some odd otherworldly imagery, and it looks like the kind of hard sci-fi that isn't made too much anymore. Helen Mirren starring in a horror movie is already kinda awesome, but the house that Ghost built actually looks scary with some nice atmosphere. Based on a true story, a firearm heiress believes that she is haunted by the souls of those killed by guns. She then builds the sprawling Winchester mansion, an enormous estate, which exists in real life, known as the Winchester Mystery House, with hundreds of rooms designed to keep the ghosts at bay. In order to determine her sanity, a skeptic visits the estate to evaluate her state of mind, and he soon discovers that her obsession might not be so far-fetched after all. Jason Statham versus a prehistoric 70-foot shark? Yes, please! All we have right now is this picture with Statham and the big-ass shark staring in behind him. Like, oh hi Jason, I'm gonna eat you so good! This is sure to be a huge, ridiculous action movie, as that's pretty much everything Statham does. And the plot sounds ridiculous too, with Statham's character surviving a run-in with the shark and then having to confront his fears to save a group trapped in a sunken submersible. They're trapped underwater! That's where sharks live! Plus, it's from the same director as those National Treasure films. Not that those were any good at all, but they were cheesy, fun action flicks. And if that's how the Meg is, I am on board. Which nicely segues us to our next film, Deep Blue Sea 2. Yes, they are making a sequel to Deep Blue Sea. No one from the original is involved at all. This is one of those kinds of sequels that has nothing to do with the original, sharing only a name in common. Though the producers insist that the movie uses the same mythology and research of the first film, and this time will even be giving its sharks more distinct personalities. I'm willing to wager this is merely a cash grab to get people to watch their inferior movie. Because who are they kidding? Without LL Cool J, there's no reason for this to exist. Dario Argento's film Suspiria is an all-time classic of the genre, and one of my personal favorite horror films. So when I heard the movie was being remade, I was definitely skeptical. And it at least sounds like the director, hot off his recently released Call Me By Your Name, recognizes the impossibility of remaking Argento's film, saying he doesn't think of it as a remake, but a completely different movie. He is using the same basic framework of the original story, but taking things into vastly different directions. The film has been quite elusive so far, with no set release date, but we do know it stars Dakota Johnson, Chloe Grace Moretz, Mia Goth, and Tilda Swinton, as well as original Suspiria star Jessica Harper, and will have a score by Radiohead's Tom York, which are all interesting and exciting choices. Just give us a trailer already. Another horror film from Mike Flanagan of Gerald's Game, Hush, and Oculus, which is quite a pedigree lineup. Before I Wake was actually scheduled to be released all the way back in 2016, but is only now coming to the USA via Netflix, which sounds like more of a supernatural thriller. Foster parents Mark and Jesse take in 8-year-old boy Cole, who to their surprise somehow appears to be able to make his dreams into reality, as well as his nightmares. Mark and Jesse must now uncover the truth behind Cody's mysterious abilities before his imagination harms them all. Horror and comedy is already a tough balance to manage, but a musical too? That's Anna and the Apocalypse, a Christmas zombie horror comedy musical, which sounds completely insane. A huge hit at Fantastic Fest, apparently Anna and the Apocalypse is able to manage all these disparate tones well and ultimately creates something quite different and memorable. When When the zombie apocalypse hits the sleepy town of Little Haven at Christmas, teenager Anna and her high school friends have to fight, sing, and dance to survive. This is one I am really looking forward to, just to see how absurd it really is. Revenge first premiered as part of Toronto Film Festival's Midnight Madness, where its brutality made quite an impact, resulting in an audience member reportedly suffering from a seizure. Seizures, you know it's gotta be good. Following in the tradition of Inside and Hot Tension, Revenge is said to be action suspense done right, with plenty of surprises and a lot of blood. A woman is brutalized and left for dead by 3 wealthy men in the desert, only to be resurrected and driven by, you guessed it, revenge on those that tried to kill her. Sounding like a similar hardcore struggle to survive like The Revenant, but this is more grindhouse or exploitative in tone, and it's always thrilling to see super violent vengeance flicks done right. A few other releases worth mentioning include Blumhouse's latest Truth or Dare starring Lucy Hale, the Bigfoot monster movie Primal Rage, the 4th entry in the Purge franchise, Day of the Dead Bloodline, the remake of the French home invasion film Inside, and the big horror team-up Death House finally seeing the light of day. Alright guys, that'll do it for my look at just some of the massive number of horror movies coming out in 2018. So are there any others I didn't talk about you're looking forward to? Let me know. Which movie on my list are you most excited for? Which ones would you like to see me do videos on? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. Thanks for watching FoundFlix. See you next time.